As the sun sinks down under, nightlife gears up in Australia's capital city of Canberra. Large, dark figures take to the streets.
There's sort of a first group that come down. They'll be joined by another 2 or 3.
Kangaroos descend from the surrounding drought-stricken hills, hungry and drawn to the city's lush lawns and parks. And what starts out as a charming visitor in the garden all too soon grows into an urban mob.
I turn and kangaroos taking a swipe across my face.
Canberra now has thousands of roos, and a kangaroo controversy is sweeping the nation.
You think that Australia's national animal would be safe in Australia's national capital, but they're a pest and an environmental nuisance, and the only answer to an explosion in their numbers is the bullet.
The current solution is culling, and that's triggered protests across the country.
Save the roos! Stop the cull!
One woman's response is a sanctuary.
Henry's really too big to have bottles, but he still loves them. It's always very good to calm them down if they have a bottle of milk.
At the centre of the story are 2 ecologists and their year-long study of the kangaroo mob. But what will happen to their favourite subjects? Sonny, his mother Madge, and the mighty black spot, the new breed of urban kangaroo. Madge is a 4-year-old eastern grey kangaroo. Her joey, Sonny, is just over 12 months, eating grass and still reliant on mum for milk. Right now, Madge is teaching this little roo that even in drought-stricken times, there's food to be found. Not on this side of the fence, but in a special spot. Through the bush and across paved roads to the home turf of Canberra's human residents. Madge is one of a new breed, the urban kangaroo. After 15 years of drought, eastern greys have caught on that suburban lawns and parks provide a constant supply of juicy grass. Sonny's a quick learner and has already got his favourite patch. Soon he'll be sneaking around the backyards of the city, alone. But not just yet. There are thousands of kangaroos lying low in the hills around Canberra. And as night falls, they start moving into the suburbs. Showing no fear, gangs of these furry troublemakers head straight for the city's well-watered parks and ball fields.
Make sure you do it right. We've got an audience here tonight. There's sort of a first group that come down. They'll be joined by another 2 or 3, and then they'll all together hop across.
Even the hallowed lawns of the National War Memorial are not off limits. The mob will spend the whole night grazing. Typically, a good-sized kangaroo will chomp through 5 or 6 pounds of grass a day, about what you'd collect if you mowed the average suburban front lawn. But don't go thinking this is a cheap and easy gardening service. There's a price to pay. The roos are hitting cars. And hitting the news.
It's yet another tragic measure of the severity of the drought. Lack of feed and water in the bush around the national capital, forcing record numbers of kangaroos into the sprawling suburbs with disastrous results. Accidents like this are now all too common.
Swerve to miss a kangaroo, and there's plenty of kangaroos here.
It's big fellas like this that are the most dangerous. At well over 6 feet tall, he's not an animal you'd want to hit with your car or meet down a dark alley. This bad boy has been cruising the streets for weeks now, expanding his turf by night and returning to the hills each morning. His name is Black Spot, and he's lived up here for more than 10 years. For the last 2, he's been the mob's dominant male. Most of the joeys around here are his. However, younger bucks are already taking an interest in his females, squaring up to make a challenge. Black Spot will have to watch his back. Right now, though, there are new intruders on his turf. Humans from the city, and they've been hanging around for days. Claire Wimpenny and Don Fletcher are government ecologists tasked with investigating Canberra's urban kangaroo problem.
Don't move, mate.
They're not here to kill the kangaroos, just to sedate them with an anesthetic dart. In a groundbreaking scientific study that's an Australian first, they will select 25 individuals from the Canberra area and monitor their movements for a year to determine how far and how often they enter the city.
We've just found a female kangaroo just up the hill with her young, and we're going to try and dart her.
In no time, Claire has the target in her sights. We've seen this roo before. It's Madge.
Normally, if the kangaroo is quiet to begin with, before it started, which is what you want, sometimes they'll hop 5 or 10 metres and then start getting groggy and fall over.
Madge's joey, Sonny, is confused and skittish. He retreats, but not far. A blindfold helps keep Madge sedated. She's fitted with a tracking device.
So we just turn him on.
The collar will pinpoint her movements 24 hours a day. Then Don and Claire make a surprise discovery. Sonny isn't Madge's only offspring. She's been hiding a tiny, hairless joey in her pouch. Measuring the size of its head indicates that it's barely 2 months old.
It'll be a long time before that kangaroo first emerges from the pouch. They don't emerge until they're about 9 1/3 months old on average.
Once Madge wakes up, Don and Claire resume the chase in the hills overlooking a nearby suburb. This time, they're after a large male.
Oh, there's a beautiful big guy just down.
Okay, got you.
Got him?
Hold on. Range is 32.
They've locked on to a big bruiser. It's Black Spot.
Beauty, got him. Yeah, he's just falling over now.
He's an impressive kangaroo, At 162 pounds, he'll be one of the study's heavyweights.
73.5. This might be as big as he gets. He'd be able to dominate other kangaroos pretty easily, so he should score, a good fair share of the matings at this age. So, large male kangaroo, lovely animal.
Meanwhile, in the suburbs below, Canberra's Kangaroo Mob is on the prowl again.
Bleeding profusely, the roo landed right on Verity Beeman and her Swiss-born husband, Beat Edlin. He leapt out of bed while she threw herself on her.
An Australian family got woken up last night by a kangaroo crashing through their bedroom window.
Within days, the story has gone viral. Apparently, a plague of kickboxing ninja kangaroos is invading Australia's capital city. Don and Claire decide to check the accuracy of these reports for themselves.
What was missed from most of the media was the fact that there was a dog. The dog's chased the kangaroo. It's caught in this corner. It's panicked, totally panicked. It may not have known where it was going. And phew, so it sounded in all the international media as if this is a kangaroo that's come jumping down from Red Hill. I see those people, I'm going to prey on them, and deliberately decided to attack people in their bed. But it's like most of the kangaroo attack stories, critical elements have got left out, like the dog.
Normally, kangaroos are very shy creatures and will avoid humans. But the drought's changed everything. This mob acts like they own the city, settling down in the burbs, even posing for pictures. Madge and Sonny are two of the busiest photographic models in town.
Madge was there with her little, well, rather large Joey, and so I took the camera and I very quietly took a picture.
And now one of the paparazzi has spied mother and son near a busy road.
Joey was over here and the mum was up there a bit, and I thought she was going to go across the road.
4 lanes, quite a bit of traffic. That's a pretty scary thing, I would have thought, but it's also just chances are it'd be roadkill, wouldn't it? Just going across here.
How did the pair of them avoid ending up as roadkill? Did they navigate the traffic? Or did they figure out a way to use this pedestrian underpass?
My betting is very much that she's going under here, not over there. But this is a small, dark tunnel, and you'd think they'd be a bit scared about going down this. The proof would be having the photo.
Don decides to spy on the roo's nocturnal activities by setting up a motion-sensitive camera. With luck, it'll catch them commuting and prove how cleverly they're adapting to city life.
If there are kangaroos regularly using this, it'll be useful information for the people designing roads. Looks pretty good to me. It's not very obvious.
It's the end of autumn, and Blackspot seems unfazed by his role in the scientific study. His collar is little more than a fashion accessory. He's the master on these urban grazing grounds. His belly is full, but he's going to need every gram of fat. A big chill is coming.
The past 24 hours has seen a cold snap in Canberra, with the temperature dropping to -4, going for a top today of just 7 degrees.
Canberra is one of the coldest cities in Australia. The temperature regularly plummets below freezing. It's especially tough on the kangaroos. Heavy frost withers the grass. The biting cold takes the heaviest toll on the mob's most vulnerable members. Someone spotted a large collared kangaroo that appears to be limping. Don decides to investigate.
I can see Black Spot with his collar down here in the trees. He uses this area right round from Erindale Drive along behind the houses here around the bottom of Waniassa Hill Reserve. But he's getting a bit old, I think, a bit slow, and that happens to the males as they age. Maybe that's what's happening. It's probably not just that he's quiet, I think, and it's cold. It's also, I'm guessing he's got some sore things there that are making him reluctant to move away.
It's still early days for the study, but already 2 of the 25 kangaroos have been killed by cars. Don doesn't want to lose another one. Black Spot is darted again so that a vet can examine him.
There's a joint in here I'm just going through now. But the other thing I'll be checking at the base of the tail, there's a wear point and the tip of tail's even, so he's been dragging that and working with that pretty well normally.
Vet's had a look at him. He hasn't got any infection, hasn't got any cuts or whatever in his feet. It could be just old age and arthritis and just a natural thing.
With the mob's leader safely tranquilized, Don has a chance to check his radio tracking collar. If the technology's been successful, a single download could pinpoint Black Spot's location, day and night, for the last 3 months.
The moment of truth. We have 500 fixes, 2,000 fixes. Good.
This is the first one that we've downloaded with even remotely as near as much data as this. So, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Armed with this new information, the next step is to overlay it on a map.
You can see here from the red dots, which are the ones at night, that at night he was going down into these narrow corridors between the houses in the suburbs. The green dots are showing his daytime location on the Hill Reserve, and he would have been able to get moist, good quality food that would help him maintain his condition.
Next morning, and Black Spot is a little worse for wear. Hungover and seeking solace from a favourite female. With the grasses so frostbitten, the more agile roos head for the good grazing in the city's parks and gardens. No way Black Spot can keep up with that lot. He'll get there, but in his own time. It's going to be a long, slow winter for this old roo. And it's not going to be easy for the feeding party either. Rule 1 of kangaroo survival: leave the safety of the home range at your peril. It's a tough lesson for Madge to pass on to an impetuous adolescent like Sonny. Nevertheless, he does have some tricks up his sleeve. His ears swivel, so he's very good at pinpointing a sound's direction and distance. When you're playing chicken on a road like this one, it's a handy skill to have.
This road here is one of the extreme hotspots for kangaroo roadkill. Any 80-kilometre-an-hour road which has got grassy areas on one side or the other will have kangaroos being run over on it. All of them. I mean, there's 1,000 kangaroos run over here in round terms. The kangaroos try not to take the risk of crossing the road, but maybe sometimes there's more food on the other side of the road and he goes across. Say in winter, in a dry year, in the evening, in the morning, those are the worst times.
Canberra is the country's #1 killing zone for collisions with kangaroos. Last year, insurance claims topped more than $1 million, and thousands of kangaroos lost their lives. It's a thorny problem which Don and his colleagues must address.
Is there any benefit in culling in areas where we know are hotspots for vehicle collisions. And is that something that we should be considering?
It's a particularly controversial area and we need the community to be on board.
In other words, is it politically acceptable?
Yeah.
Population control through culling continues to be the government's principal method of dealing with kangaroos.
Collisions? Okay.
It's a policy that's ignited an emotional public backlash.
Save the roos! Stop the cull! Save the roos! Stop the cull!
A recent cull of 500 kangaroos made international news.
Officials say the kangaroo population has grown rapidly and needs to be controlled.
You think that Australia's national animal would be safe in Australia's national capital, but they're a pest and an environmental nuisance, and the only answer to an explosion in their numbers is the bullet.
Kangaroo is a very famous icon, so I think Japanese people feel a little bit sad about cutting.
This year, nearly 2,000 kangaroos are due to be culled from several locations around the city. And it's rattling the cages of kangaroo lovers across the country.
Russell Watkinson is the Director of ACT Parks, Conservation and Lands, and he joins us now. Good afternoon, Russell.
Good afternoon.
One of the criticisms of the cull, the way in which joeys are caught up in this and the way in which they're killed. The adult kangaroos are killed with a shot to the head. How are the joeys killed?
Well, the young in pouch, they're killed either by decapitation or by having their skulls crushed in accordance with a national code of practice.
You're quite upfront about saying that. It just sounds so horrific, though, doesn't it?
It does sound unpleasant, and again, no one enjoys doing this, but unfortunately when the kangaroo populations build up like this, we just have to do something about it.
In the last 50 years, the region's kangaroo population has exploded from a few hundred to tens of thousands. The reasons are man-made. Land clearing has provided plenty of open pasture, and the roo's natural predator, the dingo, has been virtually wiped out. Scientists argue that too many kangaroos puts pressure on grasslands. Overgrazing destroys the habitat of endangered creatures like this tiny, earless dragon. Their solution? Reduce kangaroo numbers. Outside the government offices, animal rights groups are mounting a demonstration over this year's proposed cull.
I'm outraged. I'm appalled, I'm upset, and I'm really ashamed to say that I live in a territory that could do this to kangaroos.
Some of the kangaroos in Don and Claire's study live close to the cull sites, so they're checking that none strayed into the danger zone. It doesn't take long to locate Madge and Sunny.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yep. She's near the fence.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's stuck in the fence.
Come on.
The prospect for a kangaroo caught in a fence is grim. Left hanging, Sunny will surely die. Madge is panic-stricken and licks her forearms, a classic sign of kangaroo distress.
Right, let's have a look. Oh, amazing. He looks in good condition. I'm astounded.
He mustn't have been there for long.
I think we'd let him go. It's amazing.
Sunny's lucky. His injuries are minor.
I'm certainly hopping fine. Yeah. It would have been nice to give some antibiotic. That'd be what we would normally have wanted to do, but, you know, caught by surprise, no kit, nothing. To see her hopping like that, you know she's really upset. She's really stressed. The joey's been taken, so she's going like a mad thing, and we just got to get out of the way and clear out of the area and let the two of them sort themselves out.
By late afternoon, Sonny still hasn't found his mother, Madge. With night falling and the cull about to start, he's in serious trouble. The cull is carried out by a team of professional shooters under cover of darkness. Away from the media spotlight, it's difficult for the protesters to affect what happens.
This is my Batman calling sign. Hopefully throws some of the shooters off and they'll see the light up in the sky and wonder what on earth it is. The noise is for the kangaroos, the light's for the shooters.
Excuse me, the reserve is closed. Would you mind coming back, please? I hope you enjoyed taking the photos.
I think Bernie's still on there.
We all know you've made your protest.
Nothing better to do with their time than to protect the killers. There's something happening in here that they don't want the public to know about.
Tonight's attempt to stop the shooting has failed. The cull is on. It's the big males who are most at risk. They'll stand and confront the spotlight and present an easy target. Oblivious to what's happening, old Black Spot is grazing on a favourite roadside patch of grass. Here, the only real threat to his life is from late-night traffic speeding home from the pub.
She's over there somewhere.
Next morning, Don and Claire return to see if Madge and her lost Joey, Sonny, have been reunited.
Oh, look. Kangaroos, look, there. She's down in that group.
In there?
Yep.
Yep, there she is, hopping. Yep. And the little one's behind her.
Great.
Very
Back
good.
together, no worries. Excellent.
She looks fine though, yeah.
Madge and Sonny have survived separation and the cull, but they're by no means safe. Over the next 4 years, land for 17,000 new houses will be released, creating whole new suburbs for Canberra. Inevitably, this will impact on the kangaroo's range.
It's always been marked on the maps as the future suburb, but the kangaroos don't read the maps. And what will happen when this area is developed to the 90-odd kangaroos that are living here is an important question. They might move along corridors into other kangaroo areas, or they might not.
Any decision to reduce numbers in this area would draw instant opposition. Bernard Brennan is from the local branch of Animal Liberation.
Last time I looked over this hill, it was a nice bit of grassland with a few kangaroos sitting there enjoying the sunshine. Now you can see the suburbs have been extended once again. What they've done with these grasslands is that they've just got bit there, expressway here, suburb there, and there's no corridors. The green corridors, just so the animals can come and go. They're too scared to step out onto the roads because they know they're going to get barreled. So they stay in the one spot. So therefore, the government says that they're threatening the grassland because they won't move on. How the hell do they move on if they can't, if there's nowhere for them to go to anyhow?
As Canberra's human population continues to expand, decisions about where the kangaroos can live and how many will always be contentious. On a private property about 20 miles away, there is no debate.
Henry, it's all right, Hen. Hey, Henry.
Local GP Dr. Rosemary Austin runs a wildlife sanctuary that specialises in the rehabilitation and release of eastern greys.
You just can't pen kangaroos. Henry, would you like to go out, darling?
For more than 10 years, Rosemary and her partner Steve Garlick have taken in more than 1,000 ailing animals. Some of the recent arrivals that have half-hopped, half-limped here will be long-term admissions, joining many others and eventually becoming part of a functioning family mob.
Henry's really too big to have bottles, but he still loves them. It's always very good to calm them down if they have a bottle of milk.
Henry came to the sanctuary as a joey nearly 2 years ago. Others have been rescued from fences or were the victims of car crashes. Some are orphans who've lost their mothers to shooters.
I just can't understand how people can be cruel to something as delightful as that. That's the bottom line, I guess, but people do it. Yes.
The management of Canberra's kangaroo problem has polarised community opinion. As a senior ecologist, it often falls to Don to explain and defend the government's policy.
70% of females of this age are producing a young. But up here, it's, from 3, 4, 5, it's around about 100%. It's extraordinarily high fecundity for any species which produces one young at a time.
Tonight's audience, as ever, is bitterly divided between supporters and critics of the cull.
If the whole thing is out of balance, then steps have to be taken to get it back in balance.
I beg your pardon, this has got nothing about we're not here to argue the ecological damage. We're here to argue slaughtering animals in the most inhumane ways. So you have no right to tell people to stay out of the argument.
The heated debate over population control has raged for years, prompting scientists to look for more efficient and humane alternatives to culling. The 80 captive kangaroos on this land are a part of a fertility control study.
Blue-red female.
There are 2 groups, each one receiving a different type of contraceptive vaccine.
Not white car.
Hello, gorgeous. One of the vaccines has worked really, really well. That's 100% of the animals that were vaccinated have produced no young, and that's in the first breeding season.
The vaccine may be effective on animals in a controlled enclosure, but capturing and injecting hundreds of wild kangaroos is expensive and impractical.
The next step with this research is to develop the vaccine into some sort of bait that could be spread out in a wild population, and the kangaroos would come and eat that, and that would control their fertility.
A promising contraceptive has recently been developed. However, scientific trials will have to prove its long-term effectiveness and that it poses no risk to other animals.
You're looking at another 10 years before you have a product that someone could put out pellets in feeders or something like that. So it's promising results so far, but it's not complete by any means. The mainstay of kangaroo control in Australia is going to have to be shooting for some time.
Even if culling is abandoned, Canberra's kangaroos will still live a precarious existence, especially urban kangaroos like Madge and Sunny. In 1 year, he survived not only the cull, but a freezing winter, a tangle with a wire fence, and the city's busy roads. He's fully weaned now and independent, so Madge is able to concentrate on Alice. She's 8 months old and still pouch-bound. Madge won't let her out till she feels it's safe. With good reason. The domestic dog is a major threat to Canberra's eastern grey kangaroos. How urban kangaroo mothers like Madge steer their young through the perils of city life is something that continues to intrigue Claire. It's midway through the study and time to check the underpass camera.
Just downloading some photos off the Roo cam. Just want to see if we've got any photos of her. The position of the photo is really good, so if there is a kangaroo going through, we'll definitely see it. Okay, oh, we got some birds and a bike rider, some walkers.
It's disappointing.
We got
2,000 pictures and not one proves that Madge and Sunny have sharpened their road sense.
And there's just people and bikes, so we'll have to keep looking.
Late in winter, dark clouds gather. It's a blessing the region has eagerly awaited. The 15-year drought has broken.
Well, the recent wet weather has Canberra on target to record its highest annual rainfall in 15 years. Since the beginning of the year, 700 millimetres has fallen on the capital, almost double the amount recorded during the same period last year.
The abundant rain is followed by days of warm sunshine. And the effects are spectacular.
It's a fantastic spring, probably the best one that we've had in a very, very long time. The kangaroos don't really seem to be going down to the suburbs at the moment, so that's probably because there's so much grass up here, they've got no need to venture out.
In their natural habitat, in the hills above the city, the kangaroos have never had it so good. The females produce a rich supply of milk, and there are joeys everywhere. The youngest, safely nestled in their mother's pouches through the winter, are now free to go exploring. Learning to hop on 2 pogo sticks isn't easy. The youngsters are tireless and will play all day. The mob has a new vitality. And even old Black Spot has a spring in his step. It's the beginning of the breeding season, and the young bucks launch into their macho displays to attract a mate. Suddenly, the mob is alert. A young female is giving not 1, but 2 young males a run for their money. Black Spot seems to be taken by surprise. He's still the mob's dominant male. This shouldn't be happening. This is one of his females. Or is she? Black Spot is roused into action. He may be old, but he's not done yet. He approaches another female. He declares his intentions by grasping her tail. But he seems to have lost his touch. Last year he was able to mate with her, but now she's playing hard to get. He tries again, with the same result. It seems that her interest lies elsewhere. Females that are ready to mate are only attracted to the strongest and most vigorous males. Against these big bucks coming up through the ranks, old Black Spot doesn't stand a chance. His role as the mob's boss is over. Black Spot is now on his own. Down in the suburbs, not far away, the streets are strangely quiet. The kangaroos have vanished. And to the surprise of the locals, even their most reliable visitor is missing.
We haven't seen Madge for quite a while. Last time, I guess, was probably 2.5 months ago when she was just standing there with her young in the driveway. And they were here grazing for, well, the better part of half an hour. When it was dry, it was regular, but when you look at the amount of feed that's in the forest now or in the bush, it's not surprising. There's no need to go to the park.
Madge's disappearance has Claire concerned.
She can't be too far. Okay, there she is. And she's heading straight up the hill. Doesn't look like she's going to let us get very close.
Madge is unusually wary. Something is wrong.
But it appears that she's by herself, which is very strange, because she should have a young with her.
Madge's Joey, Alice, would be nearly 11 months old now. She should be hopping around, or at least poking her head out of Mum's pouch.
I don't think she's going to let me get any closer than this. She's a bit skittish. Yeah, there's definitely no young in the pouch. Young kangaroos, before they reach adulthood, are really vulnerable. In this region, it's estimated that about 70% of young that have just emerged from the pouch, they'll die. And that could be from starvation, or predation, or disease, or any of those things. If I had to guess, I'd say it was probably a dog. The other possibility is that it was in Madge's pouch, and as she was chased by the dog, she may have responded by throwing her pouch young out. Kangaroos and other macropods will do that as a response to being chased and harassed a lot. They'll throw their young out of the pouch.
A young female like Madge won't stay long without a Joey. 11 days after losing Alice, she'd have been ready to mate again. And just 36 days after that, she could give birth. Potential suitors are already making advances. But for Madge, it's all too soon. The warm spring weather is an ideal time for Rosemary Austin to release 18 of the kangaroos in her care.
Come on, Henry, come on.
Henry is nearly 2 years old now, and it's time he started looking after himself.
It's a heavy one.
He's used to being handled, so getting him into a bag is easy. Once Henry is relaxed, Rosemary injects him with a mild sedative. It'll keep him quiet for the journey. Henry's new home range will be on a remote property, 30 miles out of Canberra.
It's Henry, it's all right, darling. Henry, Mummy's here. Tiggy, it's all right, Tiggs. The bumps will stop in a minute.
The kangaroos will spend the next 6 weeks in an enclosure where Rosemary can keep an eye on them before they're released into the wild.
It's all right, Tiggs. I don't want any hysterics, please, Henry. Oh, Charlie, be careful.
The sedative makes some of them a bit woozy. And their new surroundings will take some getting used to.
It's all right, Francis.
I'll have to get used to this.
First time they've heard a train. It's all right, guys. What was that?
The things they've got to get used to here is a train.
And sheep.
And sheep.
Both Steve and Rosemary are adamant that relocating kangaroos is a viable option to culling. They believe it is possible to capture, sedate and move much larger groups of wild kangaroos. And there are plenty of landowners willing to accept them.
Here they have a huge property. We've taken out all the problems that are there for kangaroos. Cars, people, dogs and fences. They're the things that cause them injury and death. And, you know, we can't guarantee everything, but we've improved the possibility of a good outcome for them.
Back in the suburbs, Black Spot's fortunes have taken a tumble. He's now a virtual outcast from the mob he once ruled. What a difference a year makes. His teeth are worn, he's slower on his feet, and he's becoming careless. Down here, the automobile is a lethal predator. If a kangaroo doesn't have road sense, it won't last long. Closer to the city centre, this heavy traffic is a major obstacle to kangaroos like Madge and Sonny. A quick hop through the underpass would be a safer option. Dawn is checking the camera one more time to see if they've discovered the shortcut.
Okay, so these are the most recent photos downloaded from our wildlife camera. Okay, I think we've got something here. That's definitely a kangaroo. Next one. Yep, that's fantastic. The kangaroos come through the underpass and they're sitting on the grass. This underpass is not built for kangaroos. It's built for bikes and people to walk through, so it's really narrow, it's really dark, and it's something that we would never have thought kangaroos to use. But it appears that they're using this to get from one side of a really busy road to the other.
Not every kangaroo has been lucky enough or cunning enough to find an underpass. The wildlife rangers have just taken a call. A handsome, burly old kangaroo, fitted with a red collar, has been hit by a car. Disoriented by the traffic and too slow to react, Black Spot didn't stand a chance.
Oh, he's heavy, this one.
He died instantly.
Thank you.
I see this kangaroo coming every day up and down the street. From down here, coming up, and yesterday went to Appel Crescent.
Because he was one of the kangaroos in Don and Claire's study, Black Spot is taken to a quieter location for a closer examination.
All right.
Even for seasoned scientists, it's hard to remain wholly impartial.
If you asked us which one was our favourite male out of them all, I think pretty sure we would have said this guy.
He was quite approachable, so when you go just to do a general check on him, he'd always hang about and let you have a good look at him.
Male kangaroos cruising for food or potential mates take the biggest risks. More than a quarter of the males in the study have been killed by cars. Summer has arrived and the city is buzzing. The temperature's skyrocketed and the locals are lapping up the sunshine. In the hills above them, it's the same for the kangaroo mob. The grass is high and there's plenty to eat. If it weren't for the mosquitoes, it'd be paradise. Fighting fit, Madge is well and back with the mob. Sonny is a boisterous 2-year-old and never far from trouble. He's found himself a sparring partner. He spends hours honing his skills, always under Mum's watchful eye. Stare down your opponent. Concentrate. He's still got a lot to learn. Today is an important one for Madge. The tracking device she's been wearing for a year is coming off. The urban kangaroo study is finished. The collars have been specially programmed to unlock and fall to the ground. Collars from the surviving kangaroos are being collected and returned to Don and Claire's office for analysis. It takes no time at all to identify the city's most urban kangaroo.
One of the really interesting animals is Madge. What you can see from her data is this really big difference between daytime and nighttime. In the daytime, she's up in the reserve, and then she ventures out at nighttime to feed in the suburbs. 41% of her home range is in the suburbs. So that's a really huge percent, a lot more than any of the other kangaroos we're seeing. She's taking her young into these dangerous areas, and she's really making the most of what she's got here. So yeah, a true urban kangaroo.
A lot of the new data is turning some of the old ideas about kangaroos on their head.
This is the most interesting finding of the study. People, and I must admit we did it at the beginning too, think that kangaroos are dumb and lack road sense, but they're not. Check this out. We got Black Spot as an example. This is a kangaroo that goes down into the suburb here. He crosses through between the houses. He crosses the 50-kilometre-an-hour roads and the 60-kilometre-an-hour roads. But when it comes to the 100-kilometre-an-hour road here, it goes right up to the edge and stops. So that is clearly an adaptation to living in the urban environment.
The research shows that kangaroos can adapt to living side by side with humans. But just how well humans can adapt to kangaroos is still open to question.
I think research in Australia on these major animals has really just scratched the surface. We owe it to ourselves to know a lot more about eastern grey kangaroos than we do.
For the moment, Canberra's eastern greys have so much food, they're staying put. However, it won't last. When the grasses die off, the roos will go back to the city. There will be confrontations. And the roads will claim more lives. Young Sonny has a better chance than most of survival. He's fit and healthy, and he's got the urban training to stay that way, thanks to his mother, Madge, now minus her collar. Sonny is one of the new breed of street-smart eastern grey kangaroos, and with luck, he'll be around for a long time.
To learn more about what you've seen on this nature program, visit pbs.org.